As usual, I have to ask how your weekend was. I want to ask how you've been sleeping.
You know, I don't know if it's because of the full moon or what it is, the heat, the humidity, because it's August.
Right.
I've just been sleeping horribly.
Everyone I've talked to has been sleeping horribly, and full moon, heat, humidity, but it seems like it's more than that. I mean, people who are usually not affected by a full moon energy or whatever are having insomnia.
Right.
And I've been terrible.
And myself, I've been running into people that are saying the same things about just I can't get to sleep, and so there's definitely something going on with the energies out there because everybody I've talked to too is yawning
and not sleeping,
and not
the
sleeping,
insomnia.
yeah.
And of course, those 3 apple fritters I had in a row yesterday didn't help any. That sugar just kicks my behind.
Yeah.
And yet I know how it affects me.
Right.
And yet I do it over and over and over again. It's like an
addiction.
It is an addiction.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is.
Once you start it, you've got to literally detox from it.
I must like to suffer. Huh? I do. And speaking of suffering, what do you think about Amy Winehouse's death? Have they ruled what it is yet?
I don't think they've ruled what it is. They haven't come to any conclusions yet. I'm sure they have an idea what it is, but I was doing some research actually on the computer.
I see you have notes.
Yeah, and what I had come to discover is there's an actual 27 club.
Tell the people what that's about.
There are artists, musicians, I think is what they actually targeted, but musicians that had died at the age of 27, well-known ones.
There's a list of names.
I have a list of names of just a few. Robert Johnson, Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse was one of them.
All died at the age of 27.
And there was actually 42 other
names,
musicians that had died at the age of 27, which when I look back and I think of those people, you don't realize how young they are until you start categorizing them.
Because we were younger. Like, I love Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, who didn't.
Right.
You know? Now, I was younger, much younger. Well, no, I don't know. But, yeah, I would have been younger. But still, you kind of grew up with that knowledge. And I just loved him. And it just never occurred to me that there was a 27 club, an actual club where all these artists died at age 27. Now, was it all a drug overdose?
Not all of them were drug overdose. Some were suicides.
Wow.
But a lot of them were drug overdoses.
Okay. Sign of the times.
But now that we're...
And the lifestyle.
Exactly. So, and now that we're past 27, we realize how young that is.
Yes, we do. Very young. But it's pretty interesting to me that, this would happen to artists. So many artists. And it makes you wonder why, although I kind of have a suspicion, my own suspicion of what might be going on, although I'm not an authority on, artists dying at age 27. Why do you think that happens? Or it happened like this anyway?
What keeps coming to me is the 7-year cycle of things.
Like the 7-year itch?
7-year itch, but just the 7 years of reaching a peak.
Transitions in people's lives.
Right.
Because we go through changes every 7 years. I think it's bigger than that.
It has to be, because over 42 musicians. I mean, and that's just a small number, but it's a big number too for famous people or well-known people that.
I think it's a huge number because, like you say, there are 42 members of the 27 Club. That's unreal.
That I was able to find.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there could even be more.
There could be more.
I believe that certain souls come in with a predestined kind of a path, even though destiny is one of those funny things, since we do live under a free will rule.
Right.
And people have choices they can make, but certain souls, I believe, come into this world pretty much predestined, but for teaching purposes. So what, not only would they have their own karma, things to learn and overcome and what have you, but think how it impacted the world.
Right.
Just the world. And we're not talking just these particular artists that all died at age 27, although I think it's very interesting. But other great souls that come into this world with much more of a path for teaching.
Right.
But because of the way it impacted the world, don't you think they had a purpose to show us something? Other than their great creative
right. Well,
skill.
and to come in so young and then leave so young.
Right.
So I don't know if it was to make that impact, like you said, to teach us something. Although their music is great and
lives on.
And it lives on. I don't know how much there was to teach us on that end, other than the appreciation of the art.
The art, the music industry, a lot of these musicians actually changed the course of the music world, like Elvis did, impacted the Beatles, Springsteen.
Right.
If it weren't for Springsteen, a lot of the rock would have died out, actually. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Because disco was the big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, disco had taken over, and I was kind of a disco queen, weren't you? Huh? A disco. If I had to do it today, I probably wouldn't be able to. But I used to love to go out there and twirl around and disco around. But disco had kind of taken over the music scene.
Yeah.
And real great musicians were not getting any recording contracts or any gigs, to go out and earn their money.
Right.
And really, from what I've heard anyway, some of the documentaries I've watched on it, what have you, is that Bruce Springsteen single-handedly kind of brought it back into the rock and roll world.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, on these souls, I do believe there are artists that come in that change the course, not only by teaching us to come in young, die young, but like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin.
Right.
I mean, what an impact they made into the music world.
Yeah, they really did, and in a short time.
Right, very short time.
So it's interesting because we could take it in so many different directions, and it was a sign of the time, definitely their genre of music, and the message that they were sending out there. So. It's interesting because they did leave an impact and a history.
And I want to take it just a little bit beyond this, even because we were talking about, souls come in, some to teach us things and what have you. But have you ever noticed that when somebody you love or a certain group of people, if somebody passes, that's their time to cross over, that all of a sudden there are several in that particular group or in your circle of friends or family members that move on. Have you ever noticed that?
I have noticed like the cycle of threes. Not necessarily in the same group, but then hearing of something like suicide, and then I hear of two others of people that I know. So I don't know if that is in conjunction with what you're trying to say, but...
No, it really isn't. Excuse me.
But no, I don't think I've noticed that.
Well, it's just, yes, there is something to be said when they say things come in threes, right? That's true. It does seem to come, usually bad things or things we don't want to hear about that come in threes.
Right.
But there is such a thing as group souls.
Okay.
Like certain souls choose to come in about the same time and actually choose to kind of leave together or at close proximity at the same time. Like they come in together and leave together. Okay. And age is not necessarily always the factor either, because sometimes a group soul, now if they come in together, they're the same age and, kind of leave together at the same age. But there are families, like you could call it like a pod,
Okay.
You know, like we have the pods, whale pods, and all those pods. Fish, they're actually pods of souls.
Okay.
They're the same soul family, and not every soul, from what I have heard and believed to be true, comes in and takes on a physical body or has an incarnation cycle. Okay. Some souls never do. They just choose to stay on that other side and act as your guardian angel, your guide, your protector, while they are in the spirit world. Okay, that's their job. And some come in for different reasons, like a supporting soul. Okay, actually, this is a lot of the stuff that I talk about in my classes.
Right.
So for those people watching our show, they're getting my classes free thanks to Channel 13. When they come in for a particular reason, let's talk a karmic reason, okay? We always have karma with somebody.
Right.
And it's not always bad karma. Some karma is actually good karma. But some of the souls act as supporting souls or supporting actors in our life, which isn't always good. I mean, it's not always like a great relationship.
Right, so it's like a piece of the puzzle. There's pieces of the puzzles that make it a whole. Is that what you're saying as far as supporting souls? And
well, let's take this, okay, or they're motivating. Let's call them. There are supporting souls that are like your friends, family members that do support you in many ways, emotionally, physically, spiritually, okay? But let's take some souls that come in that are actually what I call supporting actors in a play.
Okay.
Because this is a big play, right?
Right.
I think Elvis saying this is just a stage, right? But a motivating soul could be like, let's say your dad tore you down every day of your life growing up, or a mom or anybody, okay? Saying, you're no good. You're never going to amount to anything, okay? You're lazy. You're this. You're never going to be anything at all. And what might you say in your head?
Probably eventually start believing it.
Oh, true. Most people do. Not the answer I wanted, Onea. But what have you said to yourself? Not me. I'm going to show you.
Right.
And you went just the opposite.
You'd be really healthy if you could do that.
Well, it's true. Most people end up believing it and buying into it, which is too sad. That's a whole different thing. But we know from what we've witnessed in the world how many great leaders and beings rose from poverty, rose from bad environments, and rose above it all, and were inspirations to us all, okay, to the rest of the world. But a motivating soul might be just somebody that isn't like, you can do it, that a gal, get out there, okay?
That's it.
Go to that beauty school, become a, cosmetologist, and a great one, I might add. But, not everybody's like that.
Right.
In your head, as I said, you might have thought to yourself, I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Okay. And that was the purpose of that soul coming in.
Well, would they have still been a motivating soul?
Yeah.
Right. That may not have been their purpose.
Right.
But in some way or another, they were motivating to you, correct? Good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, and I've heard of documentaries on stars, and exactly what you're saying is they came up from poverty, they rose up, or lived in in gangs, and were able to rise above that. So, I've never really thought of it in that way, and you would
as a motivating.
Exactly.
So, Now the sad thing is, I'm sure the majority go
the other way.
Yeah, and just what you just said, they start believing it, or maybe are beat down. But that's why the ones that rise above it show us that you can. Anybody can. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized, way off the subject, but we have our special nice cups for our show to sit on our table, and here we forgot them, and we're here sitting with our...
Sporting the Dixie cup.
Yeah, you know, is there any advertising on it? Okay.
No.
Good coffee, huh? Too bad there's not. We might get free coffee for our show like they do, huh? But yeah, it's an interesting, fascinating subject, and I believe from some channeled information that has come through over the years, a particular soul family, that pod, it contains 144,000 souls.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's pretty intense.
Well, what's that tell you? If there are 144,000 souls, but not everybody comes in ever, okay, and they don't all come in at the same time.
Right.
But when people say, oh, I want my soulmate, I want my soulmate, what's it tell you?
There's so many networks there. There's just a network of souls or spirits or whatever.
That are your soul mates.
Yeah.
Like your children are your soulmates. And, you know, probably your mom and dad. And we have like thousands of soulmates. We may never know them all. They could be spread all over the world, and chances are they are.
Right.
But when somebody says, oh, I'm looking for my soulmate, okay, we all know what they mean.
Right.
That special someone.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, there are lots of... I've been married 3 times. I had 3 soulmates, 3 special someones. And if anybody out there is watching, I'm still available. Yeah, I think 3 times. 3 strikes, you're out, right? That's plenty. But no, it does tell you if you're fortunate enough to meet that special someone and you're together for your life term, okay, your agreement together, that's becoming more and more rare. Because we do have more than one soulmate.
And it doesn't have to be, like you say, in like a love relationship as far as a partnership goes, but
but when they say I'm looking for my soulmate. That's what they're meaning,
but we could be soulmates. You and I can be soulmates.
We are.
Our kids are soulmates. Our friends are our soulmates.
You are. You are my soulmate. There's no doubt about it. You're my soul sister.
Right.
Okay? Sister Sledge. Sister Sledge. We are family. Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting thing.
So everything we come into, everyone, every person, every event was a alignment of a sort, right? As far as our soulmates go, or an alignment with the path that we're supposed to be going on.
Yes and no.
Because we have free will.
That's right.
So we can...
What was that great movie that showed if you made one little different decision in your life, how it goes a whole different direction? What was the name of that?
Sliding Doors? Or
well,
something. I think they've made several movies of it.
Since then, well, the first one I'm thinking of, but it's like Sliding Doors, that if you made one different choice in your life about something, the whole direction of that life can be altered. And we're the only animals on this planet that have free will. We have the ability to choose.
And we don't realize how powerful
that
is. And the way I like to view it is, we start on a path and there's a fork in the road. We could either go to the right or we can go to the left.
Right.
But I think eventually at the end, the free will is the fork in the road.
It is.
But eventually we come to an end spot where we're supposed to be.
Well, yes and no.
See, that's up for controversy. I mean, that's up for discussion, because I feel like we will end up where we should be, but the path we choose is our free will.
Well, yes and no. Okay, you're right. What you're saying is right. However, that may not be where you had hoped to end up.
But hope and where we should be are 2 different things.
No, where you should be is at a higher state of awareness and consciousness.
But I think the fork in the road is the
choice.
past, the choice. but it's also the lesson to get to the higher consciousness.
No, that's why you have reincarnation, because if you didn't get it, you get to repeat that second grade all over again.
But the whole purpose is to learn, to continue to grow and learn.
Yeah.
So,
I think at the end of a person's lifetime, and I can't, speak for everyone, but just some of the, people I've encountered that were in transition, I think at the end of everyone's lifetime, you kind of review and look your life over, and your whole life will be the choices you made in your life.
Right. Right.
So the choices a person makes, hopefully, are made with some awareness and consciousness, because I'm telling you, I made some bad choices. I made 3 of them. I just mentioned I'd been married 3 times. But no, and I'm just kidding. They were all wonderful men. Right. But no, at the end of a lifetime, I think you just look at your life and say, if I hadn't done this, or if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have these wonderful children or grandchildren, or I wouldn't have won the contest you've won, or, if you hadn't done that, it's not all bad.
No.
It's some good things,
And there was a lesson to be learned.
There's always a lesson.
Out of those choices.
And everything is really not that bad. There aren't that many big deals or that bad.
Right.
I believe that if you're in a not such a great situation, but even while you're in a negative situation, if you can see the positive within a negative, that is a wonderful state of awareness and consciousness,
definitely.
Isn't it? So,
well, to not repeat it, one.
I have a drink. Cheers.
Not to repeat the negative behavior, but also seeing the growth that you make from the choices that you make.
Well, if not, you're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
Right. And like you say, there's a lesson in everything. So if you keep repeating it, the same merry-go-round, the same treadmill, you're going to, the definition of insanity.
Right. Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Right. That's the definition of insanity. Yeah,
we have free will, and that's something that we definitely need to keep in mind and cherish. But then there's so much more to it, but to see the blessings in the lessons.
Absolutely, and the opportunities people have. Every situation allows you an opportunity, but for no other reason than your own personal growth.
Exactly.
It's not always about opportunities of gain. The gain is for your own growth and conscious awareness.
Exactly.
I just love our little talks, don't you?
You know what I'm talking about.
You know what? That's what I'm talking about, girlfriend. I do too, but I love that we are in a world and in a country, in a situation where we can make those choices.
Definitely.
Nobody's telling us what to eat or not to eat.
Right.
Well, I mean, they are, but we still have the ability to choose.
Exactly.
Okay? We can sit here with nice cups or with our plastic cups.
Yes.
We can talk about spiritual things.
We can talk about spiritual things.
We're very blessed. We really are. We have each other.
We have each other, soul sister. But
it is you today, aren't we?
It is.
We were sleep deprived. Remember that? Yeah. Go ahead.
It is nice, and it's also nice that we're now coming into a time where people can actually articulate, and we can also understand what we're talking about as far as more on a spiritual level instead of a black and white level.
Right, and there have always been leaders in that spiritual realm, but I have to tell you, I always give that Shirley MacLaine a lot of credit.
Yeah.
We've talked about her, haven't we? You have to excuse me. I've had an allergy thing going on.
Yeah,
something, but really the allergies are just, my throat is a little raspy, I've just had this kind of a naggy little cough and thing. Have you had it?
I've been actually, my voice cuts in and out, so it's not
puberty.
No,
There's puberty. That's right. No, my friend here is in puberty. My soul sister. But no, I know what you mean. It's embarrassing. Sometimes you just kind of, hack away. But no, it's an allergy thing, and I don't even know if anything's blooming right now. Why would that be going on?
It's hard to explain what's going on
right now. What's going on all over the world, but we enjoy our little monthly get-togethers like this. I wonder if we have enough good stuff to talk about. We should just get together twice a month.
Well,
do you think?
See. We've put it on the calendar.
Well, put it on the calendar. We have to check with all the great people that work here. They have a pretty busy schedule.
Yeah, they do.
Aren't always available just to film us whenever we choose to be filmed. But we have so many neat things that we want to share with people and talk about ourselves.
Yes.
Business has been a little slow. My business has. My
business has been a little slow, but kids are back in school now, so hopefully people are off their vacations. And
July, I mean, my business is always up and down since I have clients, you have clients, but July is generally kind of a slow month. August, so-so, and then things pick up again. Did you notice there's Halloween stuff being put out already?
Yeah, it's going to be Christmas
before
we know it.
And Halloween stuff is in the stores.
Yeah.
Okay. Wish we should do a show on Halloween sometime.
Ooh, that would be fun.
We should. But Onea, you are such a joy to me. When I said you're a soul sister, I meant that sincerely.
I know you did, and I feel the same way. I love you.
Oh, I can't stand it. Aren't we just sickening? But that's what we're talking about.